Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. Always so happy to find you here. I'm delighted to have your company. I hope that you continue enjoying my channel and staying for a long time. If you're new here, welcome. I'm thrilled to have you. I am doing, hopefully, I think this will be my last installment on encouraging us to care for our careers. I'll put it that way, because oftentimes when we are placed in a position where we have to respond to a boss in a manner that seems bothersome or troublesome, there's a fear and trepidation to that and having to deal with it. What could be the outcome? And do I have to go through this? Why can't work just work? And all of that. And we tend to hesitate. And in doing the last few videos on this, I hear myself encouraging you to speak up for yourself and to stand up for yourself. But I'm not promoting to just, whine about every little thing. I'm talking about a boss who is consistently, persistently either ineffective or not doing anything about a complaint by which you have a justified concern, is what I'm talking about. Because when that happens, you're not satisfied and the boss is not leveling up for his position, in my view, is what I'm saying. And that just creates havoc, that creates a stewing of the person, that creates a dysfunctional work environment that makes a person not want to. It just has a lot of different layers. And so I'm a real strong advocate to nip things in the bud in the beginning, fix them as uncomfortable as they may be, fix them at the onset. Just relationship. You don't just let things stew, and then when something comes up, you bring up all this stuff. And I never did like that, and I just don't think that's helpful. So just bring up the thing and let the thing get fixed. So for this video, I want to talk about having the courage if you need to go over that person's head, because you've already asked them, you've already wanted resolution, you've already done all the things you think you should have done, and now you see them coming for you and what to do next. Try to fix things on the inside, get it resolved. And whatever your view of your HR is, because I know too, a lot of times HR, what I've heard is they don't answer and they're buddies with them and you're not going to get far, or they're just going to partner with them. And all this is nonsense to me. A person who is proactive to resolution. It doesn't matter that a person who is proactive to resolution, a person who is committed to end conflict, a person who is saying, let's get this done and go on back to work. So the approach is different, I would say. So for this, I would encourage 3 ways to go for Goliath, because the person does seem big to you, meaning in their position, in their authority over you. And the first thing they say is it's insubordination. They didn't, this is nonsense. Stop your wisecracker. First of all, I'm too hip to the language at this point. But they didn't do what I said, so that's insubordination and all of this. So 3 ways to go for Goliath. First way to go for Goliath is carefully. And when I say carefully, just start with your own conversation. Hey, this is something we haven't resolved. Can you help me with this? Or this project is bigger than me. Or this person isn't. Just speak to them directly and carefully. If their ego is in the way and the audacity of you to have a say is in the way, you will know that soon by their body language and reaction to you. And so stay with it in hopes that you can get to the resolution piece, is what I'm saying. Because most of the times, people that have become a Goliath, they bring the ego with them. And for us to train it out of them, we almost always have to bring an outside expert, when the reality is they needed to be fixed at the start. So move about it carefully. Have your facts in order. make your points, be calm, ask ask for a meeting. Say, I don't want this to linger. And the number of times that you have to ask and it goes unanswered only works to your strength. Okay, so that, and working to your strength. Number two is documentation. Every time you ask that person for a meeting, every time you email that person for a meeting, every time you text that person for a meeting, every time you wrote that person, left a note on their desk to have this thing resolved, or have a meeting of the minds, or bring in, if there's other people involved, and have a one-on-one meeting. Every time you request, document it. Document it. Because now you're going unheard. And now you're going displeased. And now you're going unsatisfied. And this is the creation of hostility. Now, people always think hostility is like a hostile danger in the world, and things are just, it's a war zone. That's hostility. Hostility in the workplace is making a person feel so uncomfortable that they're not enjoying their work no matter what you do, or making a person feel fearful, or making a person feel intimidated, even if the person themselves did nothing to you. So the problem is within you. Seriously, if you're intimidated by somebody, the problem is in with you, especially if the person, you can't point out one thing they did. Now that I have a lot of. You're afraid of the person's carriage, is what I'm saying. The carriage, the way they carry themselves, the way they're confident, the way they could speak, the way they're direct, the way they're received, the way they walk in a room. You're intimidated because that's not who you are. The truth. Now that's the truth. But what do? What do? We go after that person. Because what we often do is we want to equalize the playing field and make them, if they're a superstar and you're a star, make them a star like you. If you're a good worker, but they're a star, make them a good worker. It's a lessening of the person. And this is in you, not them. So if you are on that side where you are the person that's being picked on because you're so badass, per se, that's another way of putting it, then document every time you did the right thing to resolve it and were unheard, not helped. Because by default, you may not see it that way, they're lining up with the other side of the team by not resolving it. They're taking a stance towards the others. Now you say that it appears like they're neutral, but to me, neutral is the worst place to be. You need to pick a side or bring the two sides together and make them one. But neutral is like inertia. You're doing nothing about something, and that's the worst. So move about Goliath carefully. Move about Goliath with documentation. And lastly, move about Goliath strategically. It's the strategic part. Because by the time you've moved carefully and you have completed documentation, the strategy pieces are already there. You just need to know your next move. And so here are some things that would help you strategically, particularly if the boss who's a bully is likable in the company and is a politician in the company, and he's the mayor on first base, and everybody's going to line up with them and not you, because in this case, you really are David and they really are Goliath. But David carried a stone. And here are your stones. I'm going to give you 5 stones, each representing grace, Grace. The first stone is wage imbalance. If you are underpaid within your spectrum of wage comparatively to everyone else, and you could point to that, that's a stone. Another stone is wage discrimination, meaning if all your hours got cut, but nobody else's hours got cut, and the excuse that they gave you that your hours got cut ain't cutting it, that's a stone. The third one is wage bias. Now, what do I mean by wage bias? Bias means these caveated, coveted opportunities to make your wage grow, meaning you need to have been on certain type of projects, you needed to have a certain credential, you needed to have certain training, and you have those, yet you're still the same. That proves bias. So that's a stone. Your next stone is favoritism. Favoritism in any kind of realm. Proven favoritism in any kind of realm is a stone. And last but not least is a proven factual report that shows your hours have been cut or your labor has been stagnant comparatively to everyone else. These are all forms of bullying, and bosses do it all the time, particularly in retail, in restaurants. And all I can say about retail and restaurants is they've gotten my attention. I'll just leave it at that. You should be concerned. You've gotten my attention, and I'll just leave it at that. So those are your 5 stones: wage imbalance, wage discrimination, wage bias, favoritism of any type, and wage reports that shows your hours are cut. How do you get your wage reports? Payroll records will show that. Payroll records have to be kept. Scheduling will show that. That needs to be retained or posted. So this is what I mean. These are your strategic pieces. And I would move directly with those strategic pieces carefully. You don't give all of that at one time. You don't say, here's the wage discrimination, and here's the wage bias, and here's the thing. No, you vet those out one at a time. Just in case they come some kind of way, you go, okay, well, you made that point. What about this? They bet that way one way, and then you go, okay, what about that? That's strategically moving. That's strategically moving. I will say this. Of those 5 stones I recommended to you, all of those are considered by anyone as an equalization of equity. Pay is an equalization of equity. Benefits is an equalization of equity. Hours worked is an equalization of equity. Opportunities to rise is an equalization of equity. When you don't have that, you've been by default biased and discriminated. Never let it happen. Yeah, so don't let that happen. And then last but not least, I would say this. Depending on what I call the climate of your company, meaning how receptive they will be to your concern, or not receptive, how inviting they are to hear it all, how proactive they are to do something about it, how engaging they are overall regarding complaints, meaning not the propaganda, but the action. Depending on that, it will lead to this reality, which is often unspoken by anyone in my field, but I'll speak it here. This will be the deciding determinant factor of any complaints you bring, and that is, it's not your real truth, which name of my channel, Sheri Lewis Speaks Truth. So it's not your real truth over their fake lies. So again, it's not your real truth over their fake lies that will be convincing. It's what your company culture chooses to believe. And that's unfortunate. because that cancels out fact finding. That cancels out reality. That cancels out your real truth. That lines them up with what they choose to believe in this situation. So this is what I mean by point number one for going for Goliath. Go carefully, not in fear and intimidation, especially if you have encountered these biases. You must do something about it, because let me tell you why. When you don't, it will only grow. It empowers the wrong behavior. It empowers the lack of accountability. It empowers the conduct that's unacceptable. It empowers it. And so to make these changes across the board in these companies, no matter how big or small your companies are, you have to address the issues of maltreatment. You meant to treat that person poorly. You have to address that and keep your documentation ready. Do you want to go to work and have to face all this? No. But if you're plunged into it, then you don't fear a flight. No, you fight back respectfully. And when I say fight back, push back respectfully. This is your career. Even if it's some little part-time job, it's the respect of the matter. It is the amplification of the matter. That don't do this at work. And even if it's a foolish, inexperienced, new entry-level supervisor, you can consider yourself training that person not only who to with, but how to move forward more professionally in the future. This is how you fix things. Now, again, I like to just make it clear. I am not promoting havoc at the workplace or issues at the workplace, but since there's so many, this is the way you go about fixing them properly. Because work should work, and we should not all be so stressed out behind it because of a boss, a clique, a bully, an inexperienced new manager, a failure of the HR to properly vet out the right corrective action. And some of them may be all of this stuff that makes the matters worse. So have a good work-life balance, but don't get yourself and allow yourself to be bullied. Speak up professionally and with facts, and make it stop at the beginning. If they make it linger on, then that's a problem, because you're suffering longer. Now, people say suffering and they go, oh, I'm not suffering. Yeah, you are. You're unhappy going to work. You're displeased going to work. And this is why there's so many stress claims about work, how work stress you out. Just report what's wrong, especially if it impacts you in some of the ways that I've described through this video. Okay, so make work for you. I hope you like this video. If you do, please click like. And I hope I'm a resource that you can use, or your bosses or your company can use, because I just want work better. Okay, I'll see you next time. Make sure you click subscribe, and I'll see you here next time. Have a wonderful work week. Bye. Da, da, da.